Hello, this is Kent from Easy Test Pool Supplies, sitting with Pat on another episode of Swimming Pool Talk. Pat, today the question is, how do you keep a clear pool?
That's a classic, Kent. It's not an easy question, but it's something we'll try to discuss and go through. So just because water is clear doesn't mean it's balanced. So we could take muriatic acid, for example. Muriatic acid is very clear. If you put it on your skin or your eye, it burns. So just because a pool is clear doesn't mean it's balanced. So we typically will check for 8 items in a typical water test. We'll go from chlorine, free and total, pH, alkalinity, calcium, stabilizer, copper, and iron. We'll balance those up, and then we're going to try to get the pool filter running so that we have balanced water with filtration. That's going to give us the crystal clear water that's safe and looks much like spring water. So we'll just go through the parameters, Kent. I think that's probably an easy way to go through it. So let's start with free and total chlorine. What are your thoughts? What are the ranges on free and total, and some of your thoughts on just those 2 items?
Sure. So your free chlorine is going to be the measurement of the amount of chlorine able to be used to kill bacteria in your water. We want to keep that between 1 and 3 parts. Total chlorine is going to be a combination of the chlorine that's available and the spent chlorine. Ideally, these numbers are exactly the same. If they're not, you have combined chlorine, and we need to shock the pool to get those levels back in line.
So when people talk about shocking, essentially that's what they're doing. They're bringing free and total chlorine together.
That's correct.
So ideally, we'd like to see it between 1 and 3.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the pH? What are your proper ranges there?
Sure, pH is very important. We want to keep it between 7.2 and 7.8. That's the safest for you and your components.
Excellent. So we keep the pH at that level. Sometimes people will say alkalinity is pH's best friend. So alkalinity and pH similar, kind of work together. What's the thought there?
Yeah, absolutely. Alkalinity is a buffer for the pH. Kind of keeps it from wandering away from that 7.2 to 7.8 that we're talking about.
So customer would say, well, it doesn't matter you're looking at a customer or not, but you're just looking at the water, you're testing a sample, we'll say. You test it, comes out at 7.4, and the alkalinity is 20. What's that mean?
Means the pH is going to stay there very long, and we want to get the alkalinity levels up to the appropriate levels to keep it there.
So that's more or less pH bounce.
Yes.
Right? So if we don't lock in the alkalinity, the pH can bounce up and down.
That's correct.
Calcium hardness, say vinyl liner pool, what's a good range?
For a vinyl liner pool, we're going to keep that lower, about 100 to 200 parts.
Calcium on a gunite pool?
We want to keep that a lot higher because the calcium draws that in, so we're looking for about 200 to 400.
Okay. And then how about, say, a stabilizer, traditional pool that's not using salt?
Sure. So
stabilizer level.
Cyanuric acid, we want to keep somewhere between 30 and 50 parts to maintain the chlorine, especially during high temps and sunlight and stuff like that.
And if they have a chlorine generator?
Well, then they're definitely going to keep that higher, above 50 parts.
Above 50 parts? So we've covered the first 5? First 6. Thank you. Having a hard time thinking today. So we got to the first 6, and then we look at copper and iron.
Yep.
Basically want it to be what, at 0?
At 0. Everyone's got a well up here, and if you have minerals in the water, it could be green, brown, just not a good looking pool.
So if we hit all those parameters, and just to recap, because I think I forgot alkalinity was 100 to 150 on a vinyl.
Yep, and 80 to 120 on a gunite. Yep.
So we combine that with filtration, and that's really the key to keep the pump running. So your thoughts on a pool pump? How many hours a day do you recommend it running?
I mean, with variable speed pumps, I keep it running as long as you physically can.
So when we had single speed pumps, we would recommend 12 hours a day.
Yep.
Variable speed?
24 hours.
Yeah, and you could really get down to 2,500 parts per million and keep the water 2,500
RPM, yeah.
We're going to 2,500 RPM. And we could just keep it going overnight, so at least we're moving some water.
That's right.
And what's the saying you have, Ken?
Rolling stone gathers no moss.
Yeah, that's really true. So we would say to have a proper water balance is important, but you have to really combine that with filtration and then running the pump long enough so that the water actually goes through the filter. And the two together will give us
a real clear pool.
You got it. Excellent, Kent. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.